The Greek Prime Minister says his country's banks and the Athens stock market will be closed on Monday. Alexis Tsipras blamed the Eurogroup for rejecting his government's request for extending the current bailout program.
This Eurozone decision prompted the European Central Bank to not increase liquidity in Greek banks and forced the Bank of Greece to propose the activation of bank holiday measures and restriction of bank withdrawals. I have sent a new request for a short extension of bailout program, this time to the President of the European Council, to the 18 heads of state of the Eurozone and the heads of the European Central Bank, the European Commission and the European Parliament. I expect their immediate response.
Greece wants the bailout program to be extended for a few days until the June 5th referendum on the international creditors' proposals in return for bailout funds. Tsipras announced the referendum on Friday after an emergency meeting of his cabinet. The referendum has increased Greece's chances of exiting the Eurozone. Joining us now via Skype from San Francisco is Professor Jack Rasmus. He's a professor of political economy. Many thanks for joining us here on Press TV, sir. Now, first of all, isn't Syriza-led government fair to be demanding less concessions and less austerity, considering how Greeks have spent 5 years of belt-tightening measures without much to show for?
Well, absolutely. I mean, the Syriza, the Greek government, has made significant concessions since March 1st in the extension of this agreement. They've been met by refusals all along the way by the Troika, that's the ECB, IMF, and the European Commission, to make any counter-concessions in turn. Very clearly, the position of the Troika is you either agree to extend the previous agreement mostly as is, or else we will push you out of the Eurozone, I think. There are two split groups within the European government Troika. One clearly led by Wolfgang Schäuble and the Germans want to force Greece to default and leave. They think it's better if they did. And another group that's not so convinced that that might not be a big problem. So what's happening is on the Troika side, they're waiting to see what the results of this plebiscite would be. If the voting is overwhelming by the people to support the Syriza government, then I think the Troika will make another offer. The IMF has signaled to that extent. But if it's a close vote, then they'll take a position they're not going to change and try to force a change in the government in Greece. That's really what the hardliners want to do. They want a vote of confidence. They want to shake up that government, get a more amenable new government in there and negotiate. So it's very fluid, and not much is going to change until we see the result of this plebiscite on July 5th.
Right, but right now we do know that a lot of European governments are meeting in different capitals. Emergency sessions are being held. What do you think is being hammered out over there?
Well, they're supposed to meet. Angela Merkel has called the meeting in Berlin of most of these governments, and the politicians are going to meet. And then they're going to probably have to decide, whether they are going to be prepared to make some more concessions to get a solution, or whether they're going to adhere to the hardline Plan B by the Germans and Dutch bankers and their ministers, which is it's better to have Greece leave. They can't throw Greece out by their own laws, so they have to force Greece to leave. And that's probably what they're going to discuss, what their last stage, 11th hour strategy is going to be between now and July 5th, and immediately what they will do based on the vote after July 5th.
And do you think powerhouses like Germany will ever be ready to let Greece go, though?
Well, I think there's a strong group that believes that Schäuble is one of those, and he's believed this for some time, and he signaled this, that he thinks it's better for the European Union and Eurozone, at least the Eurozone, the currency zone, if Greece does leave. And, of course, they can't push him out, so they create this intolerable situation, which will include a run on the banks. Greece can't keep the banks closed much longer, for more than 6 days. And that will precipitate an economic and political crisis in Greece, in which the outcome will be either to leave or to form a new government and to negotiate all over again more favorably to the hardliners in the Troika.
All right, let's see how this pans out. Of course, that's Professor Jack Rasmus, Professor of Political Economy, joining us via Skype from San Francisco. Many thanks for your comments here on Press TV, sir.